If you love a great bacon and cheese omelet, or maybe just a side of crispy, perfect bacon with your eggs, whether you're a seasoned farmer or someone just wanting to take more control of their food supply or learn something new in the kitchen, we're going to show you how to make the best bacon you'll ever eat. Although I should warn you, it may ruin store-bought bacon for you forever. Let's check it out. Hi YouTube, if you are like us and you raise pork for meat, but you maybe haven't ever tried making your own bacon, you definitely should start. And I'm going to show you how easy it is. As long as you have a smoker, you do have to have a smoker. If you have a smoker, have the butcher cut your bellies up into sort of manageable packs. These range, I have 5 of them here, and they range from 3.5 to 5 pounds each, so they're easy for me to deal with. And I'm going to show you how easy this is to make. We're just going to mix up a kind of a wet brine that's just maple and sugar and salts, and you can add in and, you know, tweak it to suit your own flavors if you like, but this is what we do. Best bacon ever. Like, when we run out of our bacon, we basically are like, well, I guess no bacon for us until we grow pigs again. It's so good. There's no comparison to the store-bought bacon and what you can make at home. So I will show you the ingredients that I'm using and how easy this is, and we can get started brining these, and then we're going to smoke them somewhere after about 5 to 7 days. What's also really nice about doing your own meats is you know where the ingredients came from. I have organic brown sugar here. I've got, this is a combination of kosher and pickling salt because I didn't have enough kosher. This is organic maple syrup that I've already measured out, and we're going to be adding that once we combine the dry ingredients. And then you want to make sure you do not skip this step. This is Prague #1 Premium Pink Curing Salt. You need that for sure. So I'm going to unwrap the bellies, get this combined, and I'll show you how easy this is. So I just went ahead and broke up some of the lumps of brown sugar so you've got everything evenly kind of mixed for the dry ingredients. And I will post the recipe down below in the description. This recipe will be like for every 5 pounds of meat, so you can multiply it as needed. I'm making about a 4.5 batch because I have about almost 22 pounds of meat. And we're just adding the syrup because maple and bacon is so good. And there's various recipes. I mean, there's lots of brine recipes out there. And there we have a lovely wet brine to rub into every nook and cranny of our meat. And you can make different brine recipes. There's all kinds of variety. You can do dry rubs, you can do wet rubs, you can leave the maple syrup out. I mean, just look around if you don't want to use this recipe, but find one you like. I'm going to go ahead and put some gloves on just because I'm going to be rubbing this into all the nooks and crannies on this, all these lovely pieces of meat. Okay, so what I do with this, because we're going to be wrapping the meat, we're going to cover it with the brine, but it's wet. And so we're going to wrap it. I don't have bags that you can put these in. If you do, if you have like a 2-gallon bag, you could do this as a Ziploc situation. I don't, but this is what I've always done. I just take, this is that press seal, and I put it sticky side up. And I basically just make its, make it its own little kind of container. And then, the thing that's nice to have too, if you can find them, is one of these meat tub. I have lots of these. They come with a lid. They're nice and big, and they are handy for a million things if you're making food or doing things on a homestead. So we're going to take one of our bellies. These are the 2 bigger ones, I think, and you just unroll. See, and the size that I get from our butcher is a nice size because it'll fit. We have a little Bradley smoker, and this will fit in there really nicely. So then we're going to just take this beautiful wet brine and a measuring cup of some kind, just something to scoop with because it's wet. Give it a stir because the salt will settle. And then I just take some, get it on the meat. And the idea is to really get this into all the little nooks and crannies on the meat. And if you have to make more brine, go ahead and make more brine. I mean, if you run out, it's not the end of the world, but make sure you have a lot of ingredients on hand before you start this project, or you may find yourself running to the store to get more. And I just make sure it's in, get in all these little nooks and crannies, and definitely on the ends as well, because this is all going to be part of the wonderful bacon that we're going to be smoking and cooking. You want to make sure all the meat is coated really well. So we're going to just add a little more there, ends down in the, because you want the salt. You want all the meat that you can to have contact with, especially all these different salts. And then we'll flip this over and do the same thing on the other side. And then basically we're going to just wrap this in this saran wrap bag that I'm making, since I don't have bags. And then we're gonna put them all in the refrigerator for 5 to 7 days, or until the meat is stiff. See how, you know, how soft this is? You'll see it stiffen up after the brining has kind of taken effect. And the other thing you're gonna wanna do every single day, you have to, you know, set a reminder, whatever you need to do, but come out to the fridge or wherever you gotta put them in a fridge. So have an extra refrigerator for all this meat. You wanna come out every day and give them a flip. You don't have to take them out of the bags, but just turn them over, just to keep everything kind of evenly marinating. And this is all you have to do. I mean, there's no real special technique here, except just try to make sure that there's, you know, cure kind of in contact with all of the meat. And then you're kind of sealing it up nice and tight in this bag. So I'm gonna take my gloves off and cover this and seal it up, and I'll show you how that goes together. And then I'm gonna do the rest of these, and they'll all go in the fridge for 5 to 7 days, and then we'll be back to take them out and show you how we continue on to make the best bacon you have ever tasted in your life. All right, so what I do is just kind of tightly press this onto the meat like that. That maple smells so good. And then kind of press it to itself. And it's not a quite big enough piece of saran wrap. I've got a bare spot there, so I'm gonna cover this whole side with one more piece of plastic wrap, like that. And it should stick to itself pretty well. I really like this press and seal stuff. Like that. And there's one done. Give it a flip. And you can see how these are fairly sealed up. You can do a double layer if you want, just to make sure that your brine doesn't leak out, because you're going to be flipping them, you know, 5 or 6 times in the next week, so you don't want to have any leakage. And then that's going to go in the meat tub, and I'll probably put all of these in this tub together, just like that. This always feels like it's not going to be enough, and that's all that's left, and it's going to be exactly the right amount. It's pretty amazing. So the recipe that I have down below, if you measure it for every 5 pounds, you are going to have the right amount. And you don't need to have it on super heavy. I mean, we're just wanting some salt in contact with all of this meat. So I didn't have to make more. This is the last one, and that's all that's left. So it's going to be just fine. And then I'm going to stack these in the tub and turn them every day for the next 5 to 7 days until they're stiff, you know, stiffer. So you kind of just get a feel for it. If you leave them too long, the bacon will be too salty. I did that on my first couple rounds of bacon, and there is a learning curve, and you will end up with some stuff that's too salty at first if you let it go too long. And what I'm going to do, since they're stacked in that meat tub and they're not going to all be in individual, you know, trays, what I'm going to do when I flip them, because they're stacked all on top of each other in that meat tub in the fridge, I'm going to rotate them around as far as where they are in the stack each time too, so that you know, the one on the bottom doesn't sit under all the weight of this meat for the whole week in the refrigerator. And then when you get the other end of the week, we're going to rinse this off, and you really, really, really want to make sure you rinse that all out really well. And we're going to do that in 5 to 7 days. So I'm going to put these in the fridge, and we'll be back here when they're brined. We'll see you back here in 5 to 7. All right, these have sat in the outside fridge for about a week, and I've been turning them every day. What we're going to do now is take them out. They're all sticky, so I don't want to touch anything yet. We're going to take them out, rinse them really, really well in cold water, and then they're going to be, you pat them dry, and then we're going to put them on a rack, on a cookie sheet, and they're going to air dry open like that in the same refrigerator overnight, and then tomorrow we'll be smoking. And the trick with rinsing these is you want to make sure you're getting all the little nooks and crannies that we rubbed all of that salt into. We definitely want to make sure that we're rinsing all of that out. Really get in all the little cracks and crevices, otherwise you'll end up with bacon that's way too salty. My first couple tries with bacon, it was edible, but it was so salty, like, ay, wow. So just make sure you're rinsing that really well. And then I'll continue with the rest of these and get them on racks and get them dried off. All right, so I've got these on the trays, and then what I do is just take a paper towel, and you just want to pat dry just to get some of the extra moisture off of them because they're going to air dry overnight. And then we'll pull them out tomorrow. And then tomorrow morning, I'll turn on the smoker. And what I actually do is while the smoker is warming up, I will pull these out of the refrigerator to kind of start to come up towards room temp. So they've air dried overnight in the refrigerator open like this. And then we'll bring them up to, you know, not all the way to room temp, but we're just going to start warming them up on the counter while the smoker is warming up tomorrow. Okay, these have been overnight in the fridge and I've got the smoker warming up outside right now. I'm going to get it up to about 140 with just no smoke, just warming the thing up. Meanwhile, these are going to sit for about an hour in my oven, just with it off because of the cats. I can't just leave them out on the counter, but we're just going to bring these up closer to room temp. So I'll put these in the oven like that. And I put a spoon, just stick a spoon in the door so you don't forget, like that. And I always use the Bradley pucks for that smoker. These are maple just because it's bacon, so why not? But you can use apple or pecan or whatever sounds good. If you've never used a Bradley smoker, I'll show you when we get out there, but it's just a tube and you put these down in and they go across a little heater and they burn and then they drop down. This will be full of water in there and they just drop down into the water and continue. They just keep going as you go along, and there's little spacers you can put between these as you go. So we'll let those sit for about an hour. I'm going to go ahead and start some cheese because today is a bacon and cheese kind of day. I'm making Havarti simultaneously. So I'm going to start my cheese, let the smoker warm up, and then we'll come back and get these bellies out in the smoker. Okay, so we are out at the smoker and I've got the little tray of water, which is going to go right inside here. So you can see there's a tray here and that just sits and that basically just catches the biscuits as they come down off the little ramp there. And this right here is where we're going to load these. And these are dividers, so you can divide them. The directions for this recipe say to apply smoke for the first 2 hours. And you're going to have to find your own recipe that you like. I like to just apply smoke basically throughout the whole time, but I'll apply it pretty solid for that first couple of hours. So we're going to put that, they just drop down in. And I'll usually put a divider between every about 4 of them. And this is just what I've done over the years. And they just go in from the top and you just drop them down in and then you can put divider. And I'll stack them fairly full because they'll be out here for a while. So I'll just do 4 and 4 with dividers. And those are maple flavor. We've got our temp on the smoker is right between between 130 and 140, which is about where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and go get the bellies and put them in here and get started. There's a vent up on top that you can't see because I've got this up on a table. And the vent is about half open right now. I'll probably close that down pretty much all the way for these first couple hours just to get smoke going. And I'm putting the heaviest bellies at on the bottom 2 racks. We've already got those in because that's closer to the heat source. And I watch them throughout the processing time. I'll put a thermometer in here towards the end so we make sure we're hitting the right temp internally. But for now, we're just going to get those started. So we're going to close the door and we drop the temp because we had the door open, but we're going to want to smoke those for the first couple of hours at between 120 and 150 is what I use. And then we will turn the heat up for the latter part of the smoking and cook it up to about 160. And then I'm going to put a thermometer in the meat and watch for a temp of 140 to 150 inside the thickest part of the bacon bellies. Okay, it's been about 2 hours and they look really, really good. And we still have quite a few pucks left, so it's smoking pretty slow. What I like to do is I've run the thermometer down through the top, and I want these lower ones I want to check first because they're the ones that are going to cook quicker. And I'm looking for 150 inside the thickest part of this. And if I look at about that depth and just stick that in, we've got a reading of 149 right there, 154. So this thermometer is saying that this one is done. This one is not nearly as thick. Go into the middle of the thickest part. And that one's reading 140. So we could probably pull that bottom one out, which is crazy. That one only took 2 hours, two and a half. I think it's been 2.5 hours. So that second belly is also at 147. So these are almost done, which is kind of crazy. They cooked quicker than I thought. So I'll be pulling them out pretty soon. And then I always give them a little test fry and see how they are. Then we'll wrap them up and get them in the freezer. Okay, it's a busy day. I've got cheese going here, dishes everywhere. This is the first one that was done. It's a little more than 150 inside the thickest part right there. So, oh my goodness, look how good that looks. So I'm gonna set this aside, let it cool off a little, and I may just nibble. I usually just trim off a piece right off this first batch and fry a little bit and see what we have. I can't wait to taste it. And then meat slicer, and then we wrap it and put it in the freezer in like 10-ounce packages. Oh my goodness, so yummy. Okay, you know I have to do this. Look at how pretty that looks. Hope this inspires you to try making your own smoked bacon at home. This only took about 2.5 hours in the smoker, and you know where the food came from if you do it yourself. Enjoy. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.